All right, Geminis, welcome in. This is your 2026 yearly forecast, and we have Jupiter here bringing some good luck for you all. So let's get into it. So we are going to do, I'm just grabbing my notes here. So we're going to pull some themes for the year, kind of get a general reading. I'm also going to be, as I kind of said in other videos, I'm going to be pulling specific cards on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. This is going to be a huge event happening on February 20th. And this is going to be a huge impact to the collective. And I'm going to see specifically how that's going to impact you Geminis out there. Again, this is for Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus Geminis. So let's talk a little bit about that conjunction. So 0 degrees Aries is like the complete beginning, right? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. 0 degrees is the initiation degree, like when a planet moves into a new sign. It really starts 0 degrees and it goes from 0 to 29. And the theme for this is a reset and restart. So this conjunction has not happened in 6,000 years. So think of that, 6,000 years, that's a biggie. This, you have the combo of Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn is really going to be dissolving and collapsing the foundations of any foundations that are built on anything that's not serving the collective at this point. Anything that is obviously corrupt, broken, not solid, not supportive of where we're at now and where we're headed. So this includes, institutions, organizations, governments, the foundation of what your lives are built on. From an individual perspective, this can be relationships, just patternings in the collective, even religious stuff. We might see a shakeup of religions due to this. And then you have that Neptune aspect, which Neptune represents dreams, fantasies, our deepest heart's yearnings, but also it's about the unconscious. So really going deep, right? This is about the unconscious mind. So this is about the ethers. And on the negative aspect of Neptune, Neptune represents Pisces, which is a water sign. So you have all that emotional energy, and it can create a lot of illusory type of energy, disillusionment, deception, in the fact that we're not really seeing the truth, right? Or we're being shown something that really isn't authentic or clear. So Neptune as well is going to be coming in and change anything and clear anything and bring anything to the surface that is deep, that we're not aware of. So that's also going to bring things up in the collective that has been not in integrity, people that have been lying, systems, organizations, anything that's really been putting on this image of, oh yeah, we're here, this is our mission, this is how we help, this is what we're doing, and in reality, behind the scenes, right, that's not really what they're doing. So I think this is going to, obviously I'm looking forward to it, because I think we do need to clear out the corruption. We do need to clear out people with nefarious agendas that are manipulating people or stealing from people or lying or hurting or causing suffering in the world. So, but this is going to be big. So we're going to dive into that. And then the next thing I just want to call out is Uranus will be moving into Gemini on April 25th. And Uranus has been in Taurus the last 7 years. So we're shifting into a period of time that's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be liberating. And it's really going to focus on a turning point in how we think, how we communicate, how we learn, how we educate, and how we connect with others. That's that Gemini energy, that Mercury energy. Uranus is the revolution and liberation. And this is around collective freedom, collective liberating us from anything holding us back, tying us down to old karmic things, anything that, again, is not serving us. So really the essence of life, of this experience here, is continuous growth, continuous change, because, right, for us to grow, things have to change. And it's, again, that energetic, continuous expansion and growth. And we have to constantly be in an environment, in a supportive structure, in templates that are continuously supporting that. And if they are not, things can kind of stay. Things that aren't supportive or deceptive can, thrive for a long time. But eventually, right? Eventually, that's the aspects in the astrology and the energies is eventually, the same thing as we can hold, push down our emotions for so long, but eventually that energy has to come out. So this is going to be a big year of change, revolution, expansion. That seems to be the trend. Major spiritual awakenings, enlightenments, growth. Closing karmic chapters has been a big theme. You can probably look at the titles of all of the yearly forecasts and kind of see that theme going on. So that's what I wanted to call out before we start. So let's go ahead here. As usual, if you're interested in a personal reading with me, you can book one on my website, which is linked below. After this reading, there is an extended, so definitely join the extended, because we're really going to get some good information for you all. We're going to dive into more details. So we're going to check to see what love and romance is going to look like for next year, and then also work and career, and then get some final outcomes in the extended. So you won't want to miss that. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull some oracle that, again, some general themes for next year. So we have adventures and financial constraints. So what's coming to me for you, Geminis, is next year is, and it's really been asking us to do that these last couple months of 2025, but this is about getting out of your comfort zone and expanding, and doing things that our soul has been really yearning for us to do. And these are, yes, adventures. And adventures really means our soul wants to expand and experience new things to help us gain new perspectives, realize, open our minds to new ways of thinking, again, new ways of being. And that's that Uranus and Gemini. So this is really that energy. And again, that Uranus moving to Gemini, you guys are going to be obviously at the top of the most impacted here. But I feel like there's going to be opportunities, or just taking the initiative to expand your experiences and get out of the norm. I do feel like for some of you, there has been some sort of lack mentality, or, holding your purse tight, your wallet tight, because there's this root foundation of fear around money or lack thereof, or not feeling good enough to experience things, or it's kind of like the whole thing, a lot of people would say, I'll never have $1 million. And what is that rooted in? Because why can't anyone and everyone in this reality has the potential to have $1 million? But the only thing holding you back is your belief about it. That, and again, whatever that is, if you say, oh, I'll never have $1 million, why is that? Well, when you really dig deep to the root, you just don't feel like you have the worthiness or the ability, because that stuff doesn't happen to you. It's the same as people who like think of going to fancy restaurants or all these things are like, oh, a lot of people are like, oh, that's not me. Or it's more because you just don't feel like you fit in to that type of energy, that type of lifestyle. But that also means that you're never going to have that lifestyle, because usually there's some other things under the surface, rooted in why you think you don't fit in there, right? So again, you have the capacity this year. I do feel like there's going to be a highlight on money this year and helping you grow and break through any, ceilings that have kept you stuck in these belief systems around money or lack. And especially too, like if you want to experience these adventures, the first thing you're probably going to say is, well, I don't have the money. But that's where you need to shift and say, I put it out into the universe that this is what I want to experience this year. And I trust that the universe will provide me what I need to be able to do this stuff. And it's miraculous how all of a sudden things will happen and things will just line up that will help you be able to do that. Okay, we have trust and contract. Yep, again, this has been a theme. So what I'm seeing is there's a lot of karmic contracts that are going to be closing out, which is obviously a positive, because karmic contracts are usually ones that entail a lot of challenge, can cause suffering, right? You could also have money contracts, but a lot of this has to do with like just karmic contracts in regards to relationships or experiences that we had to deal with. And I do feel like you just have to put this out into the universe and trust and surrender to the unfoldment of life this year, and allow whatever contracts that, have kind of closed out their kind of expiration date. These contracts, especially relationships that like, they're just holding us back now. Like there was a reason for them. Karmic contract or relationships are always ones that are essentially, for the most part, they're going to be short-lived. Some of them are longer. Like we can have marriages that, we were married for 20 years and they're karmic, and we were only really meant to be in relationship with them for a certain amount of time for us to learn some lessons or have some completion together that we contracted before we came down. And the trust, again, I just feel like, especially these patterns of codependency or attachment or fear, we're really being asked to face those things and just trust. It's kind of like jumping off the cliff and just trusting that the universe has our back and everything's going to be okay. And it will be. So we have money and contracts here. I mean, for a very small few of you, you could be going through some legal things or already through divorces where you're trying to figure out money, business things. And if there's some worry here, I do feel like next year it's all going to kind of play out and going to, you're not going to have to deal with that anymore. And those are obviously kind of karmic situations anyways, but maybe it's caused some financial constraint as well. All right, so we're going to first tap into this Neptune-Saturn conjunction here and see how this is going to impact you guys. So we have the Four of Cups. I'm going to say that Seven of Pentacles, the Eight of Swords, the Judgment card, definitely, and then Ten of Cups, look at that. So this is what is wanting to come in, the Ten of Cups, which is, you know, the realization of happiness and fulfillment and abundance here. So you definitely have this stuckness around money here. But this is also about really looking at what are the things in our lives, like what are we putting our time and effort and money into? Like this is a complete this is like, I don't know what word I'm looking for here. Like we need to really innovate and change, because life now is asking us to shift how we're energetically, what we're putting our energy into, because the old things that we're putting our energy, money, whatever, focus on, a lot of those things we were doing are not constructive to where we're headed. And it's not, it's kind of being stuck in a lower dimension, lower frequency mindset, lower frequency programs, belief systems. So it's like we're putting so much energy out and we're really not getting anything back. And that's because we're not aligned with the very things that we truly want. And a lot of times the actual motivation, the root of the motivation is more fear-based, or we're stuck in fear-based belief systems. So, and we're not willing to change, or we shouldn't say we're not willing, but a lot of people don't have the awareness that actually what they're doing is keeping themselves stuck and keeping themselves small. They're also keeping themselves from the potential of how much money they could make, or the relationships they could have, or the happiness they could have. This is kind of like the old idea of like, you have to work hard and work is always going to be hard and we don't have time to play. And, you know, it's just like life is about the doingness. It's the menial tasks and the almost like you believe you have to suffer on a day-to-day. Like life is just about the work, and it's about production, and it's about proving my value. And I'm not good enough, so I have to prove it. And if I'm not being productive in whatever you deem as productive, the definition, which usually involves some sort of effort or hard work, then I'm lazy, or you know, all sorts of things. So I do feel like that has kept you really stuck. These are the ties that have bonded you to the past, to old templates, to old ideas. And I think too, with the Four of Pentacles, you've kind of been in this like, well, that's kind of the victim mentality of like, I'm the victim of my circumstances or my life. You know, like this is people as well who just consistently sabotage themselves, and yet they don't have the awareness. Well, they're the ones who can change the pattern. But I liken this deck because this person here is finally seeing the cup that's being offered to them. And what's happening here is something's being offered here, but it's time to really, like, you have to let go of the things that were comfortable, or again, the beliefs that you seem to think is true. It's like a new way of being, a new way of emoting into the world, right? Emotions, because cups are emotions. So kind of went on a tangent there, but essentially this is like, you're going to have a mass kind of awakening this year. I do feel like there's going to be major breakthroughs for you. it's like where you're just going to start to get it and see, oh my gosh, like, it's like you're waking up out of a fog and like, oh my gosh, okay, I really see it now. It is going to ask you to really, you are going to have a major crossroads next year of like, you either going to continue down the same path, which then just keeps you in the same loop of challenge, the same loop of relationships, of, you know, money in your bank account, or you take the path which seems more scary, which was less or looks less traveled, and that's going to have the most potential. But I think it's really going to ask you to face your fears, to face your darkest pain that has kept you in these beliefs, because it does require you to change and evolve. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over expecting different results. And I do think that for some of you, there is some sort of investment that you've put into that you're finally going to have to realize, like, and you don't want to face the reality of it's not going to produce what you want it to or think it is, because again, it's the reason you're focusing on that is rooted in something that's not in alignment with, you know, abundance or everything or whatever else. And there's needing to kind of clear the blindfold of your denial here. So this is what this energy is going to bring. I do think this is, so this is February again. So now we're going to move on to just general guide information here. So I'm going to grab a different deck. So what's 2026 for Geminis? Okay, so we have the Page of Cups, the Fool. Yep, you're on the Fool's path, and the Knight of Cups. So now we're moving into more relationship territory here. I think you kind of, the Fool is kind of your card for next year. I do feel like you're going to have to take some leaps of faith next year and trust, even in the face of your fears. I think it is going to be real scary for you guys, because it's really asking you to face some of your deepest fears, especially when it comes to relationships. There definitely is love coming in here, but this is you being open to love as well, to new love. So to me, there is offers coming in. I think there's two about learning how to communicate from the heart and speak how you really feel as well, and shifting out of a place of communicating from your mind and kind of integrating the mind and the heart, and any blocks around your heart space as well, I'm hearing. So we have the Five of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Seven of Swords. So you have the Wheel of Fortune smack dab in the middle of the reading, which I love. Definitely this is about getting on a fated, destined path, that it's your higher path, that you're meant to get back on your higher path. I do feel a little bit like you've been kind of not following your higher path, even though life keeps kind of putting people, situations in front of you to try and wake you up, because there is these. So we have the Five of Swords and the Seven of Swords surrounding this Wheel of Fortune card, which there's a lot of like resistance around your higher path or your destiny here. There's a lot of like protection energy here. These two cards definitely are rooted in the meaning is rooted out of fear, basically. So This is like the card of manipulation, of control issues, feeling like this is a feeling of like the environment isn't safe. So you're always kind of on this defense. You're always putting up the wall of protection. And you're never going to let anyone in that close and be vulnerable because you have to have the upper hand so you don't get hurt. And then you have the Seven of Swords, which is also about hiding your authentic self. This is about really hiding behind some sort of image here, falsifying things, not showing up authentically. But this is also about if you have patterns too around like the fight or flight energy of you're always trying to run away from things or escape things, because this is rooted as well in mistrust, really mistrust in people. Ten of Wands, Nine of Pentacles, and the Nine of Cups. So yeah, it's ultimately really feeling through your heart, what is my wish? What do I want? And that's what's going to help you navigate and intuitively feel into what your higher path is. Because your higher path, you're not going to find it through your head. You're not going to find it through logic. You're going to find it through connecting to your soul, to your heart space, and really getting in alignment with figuring out who am I? Who am I? And following those little nudges day to day around things that are calling for you to do, that your soul's yearning to experience. What do you want to put out there? Maybe you've been holding back and keeping yourself small. And really, you know, the path of struggle and suffering, it's like, okay, Geminis, you don't have to toil. You don't have to carry everything on your back or do everything. You don't have to suffer anymore. I feel like for Geminis, it's almost like you did this to kind of prove, you know, again, prove something to yourself or to others. But you definitely are carrying too much. So you could be taking on too much responsibility, feeling you're obligated to all these things when you're really not. But look at these two cards, the nines. It's like, this is closing out that karmic chapter. And this is about really aligning with a path of the Ten of Cups, really aligning to the things that you really want. And you go from the 9 to the 10 of Cups here. So definitely you're moving on up, okay, to better things. Let's see, what's this Page of Cups? The Lovers, Knight of Cups, Seven of Wands. So you're going to have some choices in love. I think this is the year of choosing love. This is about choosing your heart. And this is either you or this is someone you're connected with, but there's a lot of resisting love. Like you're completely resisting relationships, you're resisting love. It's like you always feel like you have to like stand your ground. And this again is like a defensive mechanism. Or like you're on the offense all the time of like, everyone's trying to get something from me, or everyone's trying to control me, or I have to be ready and like I have to be in control. It's like a distortion. It's like you're seeing the external world and people in it as, you know, oh, I'm not safe. And it's like you're always feeling like people are trying to get something from you or trying to control you, or like that they're out to get you or something like that. So what's the Five of Swords? So I had these two cards come out. So I have Six of Cups and Three of Cups. So this is definitely a pattern that you, this is like a coping mechanism from childhood or from your past. And this is how you've learned to deal with connection and relationships. And I almost see like this Five of Swords guy is like sitting here staring. He's looking at the Six of Cups and the Three of Cups. And it's like he's kind of, you know, by himself here. And there's a sense of like yearning for this energy of connection and celebration and spending time together and love. And the Six of Cups also represents like a sweetness of giving to each other, you know, giving love and receiving love. And there's just a nostalgic, sweet energy to this. And it's like he's looking out at this from where he's at. And it's like deep down, he really wants this and he yearns for this, but he has these swords and he's like, but you know, again, it's like deep down, this is what you want. But your exterior is the swords, right? It's about criticism and it's about control and it's about sharp words and not communicating in a compassionate way. There's just like a really harsh energy that you've created, this exterior, to protect yourself. But let's see the Seven of Swords. Three of Swords. Yeah. This, again, this row is all about behavior patterns, coping mechanisms that you built to protect yourself when you were children. And you are still living in those behavior patterns and those coping mechanisms, and they've done nothing but sabotage a lot of things in your life for you, and it's caused a lot of heartache. What's the Wheel of Fortune? King of Swords. So, you know, this is, the King of Swords does represent air signs, which is you, Gemini, Libra, Gemini, Aquarius. I think this is really about, let me get Nine of Swords. I definitely feel like a lot of you are worrying like, am I ever going to experience, like, there's things that you really want and that you haven't experienced or have been able to acquire in your life. And it's like, there is definitely worry around, is the tide going to change for me? Is things going to get better? Is some sort of karmic chapter going to close out? And because the Nine of Swords a lot lately, I've been saying, can be around like a reoccurring nightmare, but in real life, right? We're stuck in this reoccurring scenario that just goes on, kind of like Groundhog's Day. It can also be like just our daily lives. Like we just feel stuck. It can be like relationship patterns. Like we're stuck in the same old relationship patterns. But the thing with the Nine of Swords is you can kind of make a different choice and do things differently. But it's like you're not willing to, but instead you're going to keep doing the same thing, hoping something changes or something works out. But the only way it's going to change or work out is if you change your approach. And this is about really coming back to the heart space, Gemini, in 2026 and living out of our hearts. We need to get out of the physical world. We need to get out of our minds and live out of our hearts. I'm just going to get one more for the two nines down here. So Eight of Swords, definitely stuck energy, stuck in the old, again, the old programs, the old rules, you know, implemented by our parents and our ancestors. And again, this is like the old template of like how we need to live our life. These are the old ideas. These are the old beliefs. And it's like we have to live by the rules of our parents and our grandparents. And it's like it's like you're trying to follow in the footsteps of them, but yet if you really look at the root of your parents or your ancestors, like their mindsets and their beliefs and how they interacted with each other and what were their relationship qualities. And when you really look at it, it probably was a lot of suffering. It was a lot of challenge, a lot of self-sabotage. And a lot of times they were tied to relationships that really weren't, you know, expanding them, that really weren't pure love. Because, you know, that's like the old marriage template of like, well, I got married and you have to stay married, you know, something like that. But it's like, it's time to cut the blindfold, because I think you've just been deceiving yourself based on these old, like, it's like an old program that you've been programmed with. And it also obviously stems from childhood. But it's not real, and you don't have to continue to believe that. And I think this is what you're liberating yourself from. So again, there's that Uranus energy of liberation. So you're really being liberated this year, Gemini, of the things from the past that have really kept you, I guess, small, and from really experiencing the things that you've always really wanted deep down in your heart of hearts. All right, let's get one last oracle card for some focus for this year, for 2026. The Temptress, seduction, deceit, and broken promises. And I'm going to read that for you. So that does kind of tie in with the Seven of Swords and the Three of Swords here. I feel like this is from your past, though. So you're being seduced with dazzling promises that will most likely not eventuate. In effect, you are being deceived, enticed into accepting something that will cause you much difficulty and eventually lead only to disappointment. Which is that Four of Cups. Don't be seduced by the glitz and glamour or by the holy and benevolent facade. The Hierophant here. Things are not what they seem. Incredible promises are simply that, incredible. Observe the image on this card. The Temptress entices with her sensuous beauty and exotic surrounding, yet just behind her is the all-seeing eye of truth. It is staring you in the face all along. Take a few steps back, look at the things from an objective and balanced perspective, and the real picture and hidden agenda will emerge. I listen to and trust my intuition from a grounded and balanced point of view. So, you know, I don't think this is like, hey, there's some love person trying to seduce you and take all your money. I mean, that's going to be very, very small few of you. What I really think this is talking about is like, I do feel like you are deceiving yourself. It's like you're lying to yourself about a situation. Like I said, going back to the Seven of Pentacles, it's like you're putting all this energy and focus into something that I think is draining your energy. And it's just like this realizing like, hey, maybe I need to come up with a plan B here, because it's like investing in something that just isn't panning out. But it's like, it's also too about listening. These, again, like, just like I said, it's like if you grew up in a very religious household or a very hardcore, you know, parents who were very authoritarian and they were the rulers of the land, and you just shut up and listened to whatever they said and do what they say. It's like this keeps playing in your unconscious, and it really is deceiving you, because it says, you know, don't be seduced by the holy and benevolent facade. So it's like there's people here that kept telling you this is how you act. This is how you behave. This is what, you know, this is what's good. This is what's bad. And you've taken that on as an adult, and you continue to loop in that again, those patterns. And two, I think this has really impacted your relationships. And it's about really being objective, to look at yourself objectively and listen to your intuition and really make decisions about everything in your life. Like, is this a healthy way of living? Is this a healthy thing that I'm putting all my time and attention into? Is it producing something for me? It could really revolve around something specifically that you've put a lot of time and attention into, and money, that it's kind of like saying like, hey, what's motivating you here? Because if it's just money, that could be more greed, and that motivation could be, again, seducing you and making you continuously want to do that just for the money. But what do you really feel in your heart space? Like, is this really something that you want in your heart? And if it's really sabotaging everything else in your life, it's probably not a good thing for you. All right, Geminis, I think this kind of got a little long, but there's a lot here. So some big eye-opening things for 2026. But again, I don't want this to sound all doom and gloom and negative, because look at your outcome here is the 10 of Cups. This is what's trying to come in. There's love trying to come in. And really, I think you're in your own way of this. Okay, so it's not that this isn't coming in, it's trying to come in. And I think the universe keeps trying to give you these things, and you just keep kind of not seeing them. All right. So Geminis, if you want to go to the extended, we'll dive in a little deeper. So come along with me. If not, have a good 2026. Have a good holiday. Obviously, we're going to continue with the Lyran Soul Tribe here. I will continue to support you all and try and innovate ways that I can also increase the frequency out there and support you guys in the path ahead. All right. So thanks again. I'll see you in the next reading.